In the name of the one who unbinds us and lets us go. Amen. All Saints' Day comes around every year on the weekend of the time change. Even here in Southern California, the weather gets cooler and the leaves fall. There is more than a hint of darkness and cold surrounding us, and we're definitely turned toward winter. It seems a natural time to think about what we fear and to tell ghost stories and dress up in ghoulish costumes. But not even the tons of candy in Halloween stores popping up along the freeways can completely cover up our shivery delight and genuine fear of the unseen. It's also a time when, by ancient custom in many cultures, we remember those we love but see no longer. We invite our ancestors to come and spend time remembering their stories and how their lives strengthen ours. The most recent layer of celebration and remembering at this time of year is the Feast of All Saints' Day, when the Church remembers our forebears in the faith, especially the official saints, whose lives and work are commended to us as examples. Halloween, All Saints, and All Souls offer us 3 days to remember this. Amid death and loss and grief, love never ends. Death is never the final answer. And in the act of remembering those whose lives we admire, those we love, who have loved us, we gather strength and purpose to carry on in our time. This celebration offers us the cathartic experience of remembering. We're often brought to tears when a bright memory arrives. It's a bit like having a funeral for everyone we have ever loved. And as at a funeral, we want to remember purposefully in the context of deep prayer and beautiful music. We want to gather at Christ's table, where we engage in yet another hallowed form of remembering. And we remember deeply and intentionally in order to remind ourselves of what is possible in our lives, in our own time. I remember my parents and grandparents and all they endured and learned, both to give thanks for their lives and to glean from their stories a sense of who I am, what strengths they have given me, and how I might use their gifts for the good of something greater than myself. You remember your family members and the stories of those who came before you for the same purpose. This celebration offers us a bookend to Easter. The Feast of the Resurrection in the spring feels natural. New life is the way of the world then, as light grows, flowers bloom, birds and animals tend their young, and we're filled with the joy of possibility. Today, we affirm resurrection after loss, in spite of death, with grief as our companion. As we say in our funeral service, even at the grave we make our song, Alleluia, Alleluia, Alleluia. Those defiant Alleluias assure us that though our grief and loss is powerful, love is stronger. Life is stronger. And when we look back on everyone who has formed us and loved us, we see them like bright candles in the dark, showing us the way forward. The Celtic Christians who baptized the ancient fall festival of remembering the dead as All Hallows' Eve also gave us the concept of a thin place where time and eternity touch. A thin place can be an actual place or an occasion or an experience. Today's worship is meant to offer you such a thin place where the lines are blurred between the saints of the past and our time, as well as the future. We visualize this by writing the names of our beloved dead on our memorial garden window and enjoy the slanted autumn light illuminating their names when we're together. Who are the saints who give you strength? On whose shoulders do you stand? What are we facing? And who can remind us of what is possible in times of division and hatred, war and displacement? I often think about Bishop Desmond Tutu, who brought enemies together to hear one another's stories as South Africa was releasing itself from apartheid. His genuine joy and humor often surprised people who only knew about his serious work in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And he never stopped working to make the world and the church more inclusive and more deeply connected. Somebody gonna get that? I remember with thanks the life's work of Wangari Maathai, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2004 for her environmental and economic work in Kenya. Her Greenbelt movement spread outside of Kenya, and they eventually planted 30 million trees. She focused particularly on how improving the environment also allowed for economic empowerment for women. Think today of the work of Malala Yousafzai toward educating girls and empowering women, the environmental advocacy of Greta Thunberg, the hundreds of people and dozens of organizations who have worked to create land conservancies here in Orange County, the artists and musicians and architects and dancers and poets who help us to see the world in new ways. You see, it's very easy to move from those who've gone ahead into thinking of those whose work goes on. Love never ends. Who are the people, the famous and the forgotten, who've challenged us to do our best? Who has given us strength in difficult times? Remember them now. Remember them now, because we need a map. We need a flashlight, a compass. We need every strategy, every tool, every encouragement, every example to help us now. Because the world is hurting. We're at risk in many arenas. There is war in Eastern Europe, in the Middle East, in Africa. There are refugees from violence everywhere. In our own country, arguments over policy have devolved into the rhetoric of hatred and violence. And I believe one of the reasons we are where we are is that we are ever more disconnected from one another and from our remembering than we have ever been before. I want to bring to the forefront someone still living who has given much to reminding us of love. God's love for us and loving as God's purpose for us. Michael Curry concluded his 9-year term as our presiding bishop on Halloween, and his successor, Sean Rowe, was officially installed yesterday. Michael Curry is nothing more than flesh and blood. He is not an icon or a mosaic on a church wall, but we who have been in the church while he has led it can testify to the effect he has had on the worldwide Anglican Communion and the Episcopal Church. He came to worldwide attention when he preached at the wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and he used that billion-person opportunity to talk about his favorite subject, love. 1 billion people heard him say this. Think and imagine a world where love is the way. Imagine our homes and families where love is the way. Imagine neighborhoods and communities where love is the way. Imagine governments and nations where love is the way. Imagine business and commerce where this love is the way. Imagine this tired old world where love is the way. When love is the way, then no child will go to bed hungry in this world ever again. When love is the way, we will yet let justice roll down like a mighty stream and righteousness like an ever-flowing brook. When love is the way, poverty will become history. When love is the way, the earth will be a sanctuary. When love is the way, we will lay down our swords and shields down by the riverside to study war no more. Because when love is the way we actually treat each other, well, like we're actually family. When love is the way we know that God is the source of all, and we are children of God. Here is what we are invited to today. Amidst our grief, amidst our remembering, our gratitude for those who have come before us, we hear whispered, "Now it's your turn. You are the result of the love of thousands. Now do something with that love in this moment when you live." It's time for the story I tell every year for this occasion, so settle in. You could probably tell it for me at this point. A little girl and her mother spent the day visiting all the fun places in San Francisco. They went to Fisherman's Wharf and Chinatown. They took the trolley to Nob Hill and had tea. And at the end of the day, they visited Grace Cathedral up at the top of Taylor Street. The late afternoon sun streamed through the stained glass windows, and the mother pointed out all the people illuminated there. There's St. Francis, there's St. Joseph, there's St. Elizabeth, and so on. They took the BART home, and that evening at dinner, the little girl's father asked about their day in the city. She told him about all the places they had visited, and she concluded with, "And then we went to the cathedral, Daddy, and we saw all the saints." And he said, "Well, do you know what a saint is?" She said, "Yes, Daddy. A saint is someone that the light shines through." Here's Michael Curry again. We need some Christians who are as crazy as Jesus. Crazy enough to love like Jesus, to give like Jesus, to forgive like Jesus, to do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with God like Jesus. Crazy enough to dare to change the world from the nightmare it often is into something close to the dream that God intends for it. Today we give thanks for all who have gone before us, who were the lights of the world in their generations, for all the shining they did, for their crazy belief that love matters. And today we accept their charge to us, to love so much that justice emerges, to love so much that children are fed, to love so much that peace settles on our world like a dove, to love so much that we change the world from the nightmare it often is into something close to the dream that God intends. To shine with the light that created us, that first unbroken light that began creation, to shine where the world is shadowed, to join our light with those of others, and remember that we belong together. The world is difficult and dangerous, but we can't turn away. We have a charge to keep, a hope to keep alive, with love as our superpower. The writer to the letter of the Hebrews puts it this way: "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight, and let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us." All those who came before us are still with us, cheering us on. Their love lights the way, and their strength lifts us when we fall. Our sweet All Saints hymn reminds us, they lived not only in ages past, there are hundreds of thousands still. The world is bright with the joyous saints who love to do Jesus' will. You can meet them at Sunday supper, in the choir, knocking on doors and mailing postcards, working at the polls. You can meet them caring for others and for the world in a million ways, small and large. For the saints of God are just folk like you and me, and I mean to be one too. Amen.